party.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be spilling some tea and just talking about a crazy incident that happened in my life that I'm not really sure if I'm over yet. So yeah, we're just gonna talk about the time I was a mistress, unintentionally. Disclosure. Actually, should I disclose that we didn't have sex? I'm not a real mistress. Don't come for me. Okay, how do we start this? Okay.
No filler.
I met a guy named Brad. Ooh, we love Brad. Brad sounds douchey. Okay. Alright, I met a guy named Brad. Way back when.
Why is it Brandon?
No, we're changing it to Brad. Brandon sounds cool. Brad is more douchey. So anyways, I met a guy named Brad about like 2.5 years ago. 2 years and some change and whatever. And we were at a campfire. It was a friend campfire. We all got together and we were just chilling, drinking, living our best lives. And my friend's boyfriend at the time introduced me to Brad and was like, hey, like, you know, like, he's really cute, like, blah, blah, blah. Although Brad, up until now, had never been with a guy or really found guys interesting. But apparently, Brad was down to get a little bit experimental that night. So we had, you know, some drinks. We're sitting there, we're talking, we're chatting, and me and Brad start chatting. We're drinking, we're at the fire, there's a nice little ambiance, you know, we got friends, we're vibing. Anyways, I ended up doing Brad's makeup that night. I was like, oh, like, let me do your makeup, or like, lit as fuck, so I'm doing Brad's makeup. And then I'm like, okay, he's definitely low-key at least bi. Like, we know Brad's bi. We were at the campfire, and I had finished doing his makeup inside, obviously not by the campfire. I mean, I'm good, but I'm not that good. But no. So, anyways, I was doing his makeup, and I definitely got the vibe, like, okay, you're bi, or you're at least interested in it. And he said to me, so it was just me and him, and he said to me, he was like, I've never been with a guy, but if I was, like, going to be with a guy, he would have to look like you. And I was like, oh, well. So anyways, it got popping in the parking lot. We ended up, you know, hooking up or whatever. And yeah, he spent the night. I borrowed my friend's bed and my friend's sheets and my friend's friend. And yeah, we did the deed and woke up the next morning and we did it again. And yeah, it was a little vibe. And then things were cute, whatever. He went back home, you know, did his thing, lived his life, came back to visit me one other weekend. And we went on a little date. We went driving through the woods. It's literally like we drove down a dirt road, went and got a smoothie. It's down the road from where my friend lives. And that was that. And then we kind of like, we didn't hook up that time. And we kind of just, you know, messed around a little bit, but it was fine. We went on a short little date, and it was like a weekend type thing. And then he was leaving, and I was like, I'm never going to see you again. Like, you know what I mean? I just had that feeling, and I didn't. Now, speed back up to now, present day, well, not today, but like present day 2018, so not too long ago. I get a message, and I'm at work. Just started, you know, my new job. I'm at work. I get a message from Brad, by Brad. And he messages me and is like, hey, what's up? What are you doing? How have you been? So we start talking, chit-chatting. We're going through, and, you know, he's like, we should catch up sometime. I have screenshots of certain things. I'm going to be blurring out the person and all that good stuff. But yeah, so you'll see the screenshot. But yeah, so Brad, you know, is like, hey, casual, like, let's hang out. Let's catch up. We should hang out and stuff. And then Brad starts, like, flirting here and there. So I'm like, okay, you know, this is weird. Like, haven't heard from him forever. We had a great connection, and we kind of just fell apart. We went different parts in our life. You know, it was kind of like Brad wasn't really, like, fully to terms with himself, and I was kind of just, like, doing my own thing as well, really busy and in school at the time and doing all this stuff, so it was just, you know, crazy. But anyways, so we catch up, and Brad's like, oh, do you want to come over tonight? And I'm at work, and I'm like, I definitely, like, can't. Like, that's too short notice. Brad lives, like, far out. So I'm like, I don't know what to do, like, but I would love to chill with you. And they're like, what about tomorrow? And I'm like, oh, tomorrow I can't, too, because I work, and it would be too late once I get out of work, and then I have to work Saturdays, and it was on a Thursday. So they messaged me Thursday. Then asked if I could hang out that night and then Friday, and I said no, and then Saturday they were like, well, what about, you know, Saturday? And I'm like, after I get out of the salon, I could totally do that, but I can't do it Friday because I work early in the salon, and there would be no way. It's like over an hour drive. So anyways, so then, you know, we're talking, we're chatting, and Brad sends me pictures, and I know it's Brad and all this stuff, and everything seems just normal. So anyways, I'm going to this date, and we set up a date for Saturday. I drive all the way, get my friend to pay my friend gas money to bring me all the way out to go see Brad, to go on a date. He tells me, you know, that night, randomly, he's like, oh, I reserved a table. I got a table for us. The reservation's at 8, and I want you to meet me at this Italian restaurant. It's a little bit, you know, like, fancy, but not too fancy. So they're, like, dressed a little bit, you know, uppity. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I switched my outfit, because I was just, like, casual. I thought we were just chilling, you know, catching up, nothing, like, too crazy. But next thing you know, we're going on a date, and I'm like, oh, okay. So then I'm sitting there. They tell me the reservation's for 8. I make it there at 8:13. I drive all the way there. I go, and as I'm walking in, I see Brad come around the corner. And so I'm like, oh, like, and I had been texting him before, and he didn't message me, so I'm like, oh, he's probably driving. Like, obviously you're not going to text and drive, hopefully. And so anyways, I, like, see him coming around the corner, so I'm like, hey, Brad. And the next thing you know, a girl comes around the corner and is like, hey, what's up? And they say their name, and I'm like, hey? And I'm, like, confused. And then Brad looks at me and goes, Christian, what are you doing here? And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, in my head, I'm like, what do you mean? Like, at first I was like, who is this random chick? And I'm thinking, okay, maybe they brought a friend along, even though they said it was a date and they made reservations. So all this is happening in my head, and I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I'm so confused. Like, I'm standing outside, and then Brad's girlfriend, that I know nothing about at this point, opens the door and, like, gives a weird look and, like, walks in. So I'm, like, sitting there, I'm like, okay, and I'm, like, still talking, and Brad's like, blah, 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 and he's, like, saying stuff, so I'm walking behind him thinking, okay, this is weird. That was a weird introduction. Maybe he didn't recognize me. I have different hair. I'd cut my hair. I had longer hair. It was blonde in a bob. I looked a lot more feminine and like a crazy alien, and now I'm kind of, like, punk rocky, short hair. I'm like, maybe he didn't recognize me, but he literally was like, what are you doing here? So I knew he recognized me, but I was, like, freaking out because I'm like, I'm trying to make, like, this all make sense. Anyways, I start walking behind them, and there's a hostess table, like, right in the front. And there's 2 glass doors. So we walk through the second glass door, and they're holding the door open. And then I, like, walk through behind them, and then they go and talk to the hostess, and I couldn't hear. And I have a bag of my stuff, because I'm gonna, like, be spending the night and, like, chilling. So I'm sitting there, mind you, I'm, like, dressed up, I have a bag of my stuff, like, my overnight bag with me. I'm like, okay, I'm walking in, and then they just go start walking. So I start walking behind them, and then I see them get seated, like, right in front of my eyes, but at a table for 2. So I'm like, what the fuck? So I quickly, like, to not make a scene, I, like, stop, like, literally where I'm at in my tracks, and, like, turn around, go back to the hostess table, and I'm like, and I'm, like, instantaneously, like, I'm so confused, like, I don't know what to do. So, like, I, like, turn around, and I'm, like, to the hostess, I'm like, I'm here for a reservation with Brad, but Brad is sitting at a table for 2, and then the hostess looks at me, and she's like, where's Brad at? Like, can you show me Brad? I'm like, Brad's right there, but he's there with another person, and I thought I was supposed to be meeting him. I'm just really confused. Like, is there a reservation here? Maybe I should just, like, you know, I don't know, like, go to the reservation, or maybe, like, there wasn't enough chairs at the table, they fucked up, I didn't know. So I'm like, okay, like, let's try and resolve this, because I'm standing here with my shit, and I look crazy, and I feel crazy. And so anyways, the lady's like, no, they said they didn't have, like, I just asked them when they came in, they spoke to me, and they said they were just, like, walking in, they didn't have a reservation. So I sat them down, and I'm like, well, that's weird, because, can you check the computer, because there's supposed to be a reservation for Brad for 8. The hostess checks the computer, and there is a reservation, and she's like, this is wicked weird. I'm like, can you just sit me at the table that the reservation's made, and so I can just think and then, like, reassess this? And she's like, okay, sure. She's confused, and then I'm confused, so I'm just like, oh. So I sit down, and this table is literally diagonal from Brad and the girl that is with him, his friend, whoever, I don't know, at this moment in time. So I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh my god, this is fucking crazy. I thought I was going on a date, you know, with Brad, and now he's sitting there diagonal from me, and I'm looking at him and whoever he's sitting with on a date with, and I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. So I'm sitting there, and the lady comes up to me, and my hostess is the same hostess as Brad's, and I'm like, this is fucking crazy, like, what are the odds? And the hostess is like, oh, are you gonna get anything to drink, like, blah, blah, blah. Mind you, also, I paid money for gas, and I did have money with me, but I didn't have enough to, like, cover a whole meal there. I had, like, maybe, like, $40, but everything was really, like, high price. It was kind of ritzy. And I also, honestly, the last thing going through my mind was eating. So I'm, like, panicking, because I'm like, well, I thought I was going on a date, and Brad had literally been like, oh, I'm going to pay for your meal. Like, don't worry about it. I'm having you come out all this way. Like, I'm going to pay for your meal. We're going on a date. It's been such a long time. We're going to catch up. So now I'm sitting there, like, freaking out, trying to put this all together. And the waitress comes up to me. I'm like, I just want a glass of water and a glass of wine. So I order a glass of Moscato. And this fucking bitch looks at me like, damn, it's a rough night. Like, I feel you, boo. Like, she grabs me a fucking glass of Moscato and a glass of water. And I'm sitting there. And then the hostess comes back up to me. And she goes, what is going on? This is so weird. And I'm like, I don't know, like, I'm so confused, like, I'm messaging him right now, and she's like, well, I don't understand, like, I'm looking literally over there, and, like, he's not looking over here, he's being really, really weird, and she's like, he has the same, waitress as you, so this is super weird, like, and he said he didn't have, a reservation, and I asked him again, so they sent the same waitress to go over there after, so he can see me. He's literally making, like, eye contact with me, like, in the beginning for, like, a tiny bit. And then he can see me, like, looking over and knows that we have the same waitress. And the waitress goes back over there and is like, did you make a reservation? Are you sure? And he's like, no, no. And then his friend that's a girl, is like, no, there's no reservation. Like, why is she asking that? Like, and he's like, I don't know, that's so weird. Like, they're talking, I can see, like, concern and, like, weird looks. Then the waitress comes back over to me, and she's like, well, they ordered a drink, and she's like, I carded him. And the hostess is sitting right there. So now it's the waitress, the hostess, and then me, sitting in a chair at a table of 4, set for fucking 2 people to eat, by myself in the middle of a fucking, like, 4-star restaurant. It's not 5-star, but it was, like, up there. And all these people are looking at me, and of course it's, like, a fucking Italian restaurant. I'm fucking sitting around, like, Guidos and, you know, Italian grandmothers and fucking people with dark hair and cashmere sweaters and scarves and shit, and I'm just over here fucking in a fucking punk rock studded fucking fake coat, and fucking my hair's blue. I'm looking like fucking crazy. Anyways, the fucking hostess is sitting there, and she's like, oh my god. And the waitress is like, that's the name. Like, the name on the ID, Brad, has a reservation for 8. They looked on the computer, and they're like, what the fuck? Like, he lied. So then they figure out he lied, and then she's like, what's the whole point of this? And so then she's like, if I were you, like, I would just go over there right the fuck now. And she's like, I can't believe this. Like, oh my god, like. And so at first, she literally was like, oh my god, like, is that your boyfriend? She thought we were dating, and I was catching him cheating on someone. And then I explained to her, I'm like, no. I'm like, he literally invited me out and told me he'd pay for me to go on a date with him and wanted to see me. And then I was going to spend the night at his house and spend, like, the weekend there. And literally, I'm finding out, like, within a matter of seconds that he's literally on a date with someone else and made 2 reservations, like some Miss Doubtfire bullshit. Like, I don't know if he expected me to, like, just sit here and he was gonna hop between 2 tables or have 2 dates. I don't fucking know what happened. But, so I'm sitting here freaking out and drinking my wine, and these 2 girls are like, this is, like, out of a fucking movie. Like, this is crazy. Like, go over there right now. And the waitress is pissed. Like, the waitress and the hostess are, like, Team Christian. They're like, bitch, we're gonna go fuck him up, and then we're gonna get you this glass of wine, and then we're gonna fuck him up, and then we're gonna get you this glass of wine. And so I'm sitting there, like, alright, enjoying my glass of wine, spilling the tea, letting these girls know, like, what's going down, and, like, I'm like, it's fine, like, no, and they're like, no, we're gonna go over there and give him your, like, your bill, like, you're not paying for this is so horrible, like, what kind of sick fuck, like, brings you out while he's sitting there, and then she hears something about literally, it being his, like, girlfriend or his, fiance. So I'm sitting there like, oh my god, I am literally in the middle of a place I've never been. My friend is already driven away. So I'm like sitting there and all this is going through my mind. Literally, meanwhile, I'm explaining this to them. And then I get up because I'm getting nervous and like people are staring and looking at me. And I'm like, oh my god. So I finished my glass of wine. Like a boss ass bitch. The Moscato was great, by the way. Thanks for, you know, supporting me and getting me through that time. Whatever that brand was. You're amazing. So anyways, I go up to the hostess desk, I grab my fucking bag, and I'm just like, I message Brad, and I'm like, I'm leaving. And he didn't respond this whole entire time, so he's not responding. But I'm literally watching him in person, and he is literally looking like he's freaking out, like dying inside. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I can't believe, like, how did he think this was gonna happen? Like, this was the dumbest orchestrated thing ever. So I literally pay, and then I tip because I feel bad because this fucking person, think about it, this waitress is sitting there, and I took up a 4-seater table. That's like a lot of money she could have made. So I felt so bad. So I tipped her well, and she was like, no, you don't even have to worry about it. Like, have a good night, hun. And she was like, bitch, we gonna have the chef rub his nuts in their food. Like, these fucking waitresses and hostess were pissed. They were like, you are too beautiful. Like, don't be bothered. Like, have a good night. And so I leave. I go, I call my friend. I'm like, I need to go. I don't tell her what's going on exactly because there's no way to explain all of that in literally like 3 minutes on the phone. So I'm like, just come now, like I need you to come. So she turns around, she comes, picks me up, and on the way back I'm telling her this story. Meanwhile, I'm like, what the hell, like messaged one more time, and I was like, what is going on, like explain yourself to Brad. He doesn't message until later that night, like literally like 4 hours. So then I was like pretty bummed with the whole experience and just shook and like dying laughing, you know, joking it off, telling people. And then I met up with 2 of my girlfriends and was just like, look, let's have a girls' night at my house, grab some wine, have some, you know, friend time, a little good together, a little kiki, and just chill. So I'm telling them the whole entire story, we're laughing, we're going over it, yada yada yada. I get a message from Brad, and then Brad's like, hey, like, you know, I'm sorry, like blah blah blah. And it's basically saying, like, you know, that's my fiance, and I didn't know that she was going to be home. I thought she was going to be away on a trip, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So I'm messaging them on Snapchat. I have the receipts. I have all the fucking receipts. All the tea. It has been spilt, and it's there. It's capsuled forever. We're going to put some up so you guys can get up in there. And see for your fucking selves the fucking tragedy and the fuckery that is my life. So I'm literally, like, reacting to this message, and I'm, like, you know, typing him back, like, pissed as fuck, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like, his only concern was, like, oh, I'm sorry that it didn't work out. So he's literally not apologizing for having me think I'm going on a date with someone that I went on a date with and had a strong connection, like, years ago, and I'm meeting them again and rekindling, like, you know, maybe potentially what we had. And he's not apologizing for any of that, for making me look like a fool, for going there. He's literally just like, oh, like, sorry it didn't work out. Like, damn, didn't know that she was going to come back. She was supposed to be away for the weekend. And I'm just like, you have a fiance and you didn't tell me you have a fiance? I asked you if you were single. And in one of the screenshots, he literally says he lives alone. He sends me his address, like, of where he's living now. And he's like, yeah, blah, 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 because he wanted me to come over that night, remember? So he sends me his address. He's like, well, you can just have the address now for when we make the plan Saturday, because I denied going over Thursday and Friday because I simply couldn't do it because I work. He says he's single in this. The screenshot will be up so you'll fucking see. But he says he's single, and he says he lives alone. So both are which a lie. I end up finding out. So I dig a little deeper. I get a message literally the next day. So I go off on him, and in the screenshots I'm like, why wouldn't you tell me? Like, this is so horrible. And like, why wouldn't you just be honest? Like, you know, I would never judge you. I'm not a judgmental person. I would never judge anyone. I understand people feeling like they can't come out. I completely understand people feeling like, you know, they can't be 100% honest with everyone. But at the same time, like, don't have a fiance and don't ask someone out on a date and completely fabricate, like, the whole situation and lie to them. And then expect them to just be like, chill with that. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, it was so crazy and fucked up. I felt like I was on, like, a fucking Jerry Springer show or something. I was like, oh my god, this is wild. Like, literally, the hostess and the waitress were saying the exact same thing. Like, this is like a fucking movie. Anyway, so I'm sitting there talking to him, and he's like, you know, messaging me. Then I get another message the next day. So we stopped messaging, and they are basically like, oh, you know, Brad's like, talking to me, the last little bit he says is like, you know, things get boring, and, you know, I just want to spice it up, and, you know, you just got to do a little bit something else, but I still love this person and want everything in them, and, like, see myself being with them. I'm just a horrible person. I'm just like, well, you don't have to be, you piece of shit. Like, you don't have to fucking be doing this shit and cheating on people and fucking making up fake dates and shit. Like, how about you just fucking break up with the person, or if they're everything you want, tell them and go get a fucking poly relationship. It's 2019. You can have a third if you want. A third in the 4-1/3. Like, go get you some third. But anyways, I'm sitting here, and then I get a message on Facebook from Brad's Facebook, but it's a new Facebook. And this is the fucking plot twist of it all. Like, if you thought it was crazy before, fucking buckle up, saddle up, fucking sit down, grab your popcorn, bitches. So, I'm sitting there, and I get a message from this new Facebook. And I'll put a screenshot of that in there. It's basically Brad telling me that the other person who messaged me was not Brad, and that they were hacked, and that it was weird that they saw me at the restaurant and blah, 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 and to not listen to this other person. Now, mind you, the person I don't think was smart, because this person was trying to say that the other profile for Brad, the original one that messaged me and set up the date, was not theirs and they had been hacked. And that Brad saw me and recognized me but was super confused and didn't know what was happening. And basically trying to, like, step away or, like, out of blame and basically be like, I don't know what's going on, but, like, that wasn't me. You know what I mean? But they kind of gave it away because I didn't message them and tell them, but on their old one. So how would they have known that a hacked person, like, specifically messaged me and that all that happened? You know what I mean? So they gave it away. I know that there is no second person. But anyways, this person goes on and tells me it's not them, that they saw me and, like, damn, like, they can't wait to catch up. Like, that was super weird. Like, they were confused. Like, and, like, this stuff has been happening. So I tell them, like, hey, I messaged you and, like, set up a date and thought we were going on a date. Like, I'm confused. Like, if this isn't you, who is it? So they tell me they have a crazy ex. This whole big story, yada, 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 of how, like, this chick is trying to get back at Brad. He's mad, and, or she's mad at Brad. And she's just, like, sitting there, like, you know, hacked his Snapchat. And that's how she knew all this stuff. Well, then I start trying to decipher it, like, okay, what's real, what's not real? Like, I don't want to condemn this person, and I thought about messaging Brad's girlfriend. So I was like, let me step back and do a little research and try and figure this out. So the new Brad, the real Brad, gives me, on Facebook, with the new message, gives me his real phone number, and his new Snapchat, the one that's not hacked. So I go, you know, add all that stuff, message him. I say, send me a picture, so I know it's real. So he sends me a picture of him, a live picture on Snapchat, so I know it's real. At me, so I know it's real. And so anyways, so I'm like, okay, so I know this one is 100%. So I'm talking to the other one, and I'm talking to them both at the exact same time. Now, mind you, they are literally sending snaps, like, literally almost linear, like, to each other. So it's like, you know, a couple minutes between this one, a couple minutes between the other profile. And it's going back and forth. I'm trying to, like, mix them up, trying to get them to spill to make sure, like, you know, I can prove, like, this is really him in both of them or not him in both of them. So that way I can message his girlfriend and be like, yo, like, this is fucked. Like, this is what's trying to go down. He was trying to cheat on you, and that's why I was there, and it was weird. And, like, I feel like I need to let that person know, you know what I mean? I would feel shitty. I would never want to be a part of that. I would never want that to happen to me, and I would never want that to happen to someone else. And a big part of the reason why, like, so much of me wanted to just go in that restaurant when I was there and just be like, whoosh, and throw a fucking glass of wine, like some housewives shit, and flip the fuck out. But then I was like, this poor girl is going to be sitting there. Meanwhile, you know, you think your fiance is taking you out on a nice fucking date, and here the mistress comes with that glass of wine, bitch, out the cut, like, pfft. And it would just be so embarrassing. So I did it, but I still wanted to get to the bottom of it, and it was freaking me out. I'm like, this is so crazy. I've never had something like this happen to me. I just need answers, and I want to get her answers as well. So anyways, I hold back, and I'm going through and I'm testing all these things. I'm screenshotting on another phone, taking pictures so that way, like, they can't see that I'm screenshotting, trying to, like, get information and trip them up. Well, a couple of times, Brad tripped up and said things and replied on the other snap to a question that was sent on the opposite snap, if you get what I'm saying. So he replied on the new one to something that I said to the old one that only the old one would know if they were different people. that happened, as well as the times were like literally like enough amount of time to sign out and sign back in, sign out and sign back in. Like the messages were like almost linear, like almost the same, but not the same. And so anyway, so I'm going through and I kind of am like piecing it together like, okay, you're the same person. So finally I get tired and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go to the girlfriend. We gonna take this to the girlfriend or the fiance, the mystery chick, the chick that I met who introduced herself to me that I had never met before in my life and did not know was going on this date with us. Anyway, so I message her, reach out to her, and I try to get her away from Brad because I want to talk to her one-on-one and really get to the bottom of this. And I also don't want Brad to cut it off before she hears what I have to say and also sees screenshots and stuff like that because I'm like, look, like this is serious. I can't. So, anyways, I message her. We set up a time and we FaceTime. We talk it all through. I show the screenshots. I send the screenshots. I read them. And she says, like, out of her own mouth, she goes, that sounds exactly like Brad. Like, when you were reading that whole portion about, like, you know, blah, 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 and the flirting and all this stuff, and, like, going out and doing all this stuff, like, that sounds exactly like Brad. And only Brad would know certain, like, some of those things because I was there, and, like, it was something that only me and him knew. He hadn't expressed to anyone. And that was a big, also, deciding factor in, like, being like, okay, like, you're fucking full of shit because he did get me on the fact that he typed out about us meeting and certain things like that, and they were in our messages. So if someone hacked him, they could have got that me and him did have a thing way back when. They could have got the time period, because Snap keeps the time period, and they could have got where we were and what we were doing. So that makes sense. But they didn't have certain details that only I knew Brad knew. You know what I mean? Like certain things, which I call out, whatever. So I talked to her, and in conclusion, she's like, yeah, I believe it, and like, it just sucks, like, you know, I love him no matter what, and I just wish he would be open with me. And, you know, she talks about how, like, which is super chill, I want to say, like, I think it's amazing. She literally talks about, like, how she would just let him go experiment if that's what he wanted, but he denied it, and then, like, got super aggressive that night, and, like, was just super, like, you know, no, this is blah, 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 this is not, like, it's not real, like, I'm telling you, this person's trying to ruin my life, whatever. So, anyways, that's how it ended. I talked to them, and it ended up being, like, really weird to just have that FaceTime and, you know, finish. And, you know, fast forward to today, just recently, like a couple days ago, she messaged me. So after that conversation, she said that me and Brad could still keep in contact, and that she thanked me for not going out and, like, cheating with Brad or whatever. And, like, we still kind of didn't have, like, 100%, like, okay, we know this is Brad. We felt it, and we both agreed, like, we do think it was the same person on both, that there was no other person, but it was hard to tell because there actually had been a crazy person that had been in his life previously that did try doing certain things, but they weren't 100% certain that this was that person, you know what I mean? So, anyways, flash forward to literally today and the day before, I messaged the girlfriend, she messaged me, and she was like, hey, you know, we should chill and we should hang out. And Brad never messaged me after that, by the way. Neither one. Neither profile on Snapchat or anything. And I just basically told them, you know, like, it's fine, like, I don't judge you, and I would still, you know, love to be friends. I really wish I knew, and you could be honest with me, and I could really know for certain, you know, out of your mouth. But that has not happened yet. That's yet to happen. But yeah, so I will be, you know, in contact with the girlfriend. Found out that it's not fiance. It is, however, girlfriend. And they also have a kid together. Crazy. So, that's definitely, yeah, that was pretty crazy. And I told her today, before I made this video, that I was going to make this story time and I wasn't going to disclose names. I was going to give the whole story and just share that tea for you guys because shit was fucking wild and just crazy, and I definitely felt like this needed to be a story time. And she was down with it. She was like, yeah, no, I literally tell people, you know, myself and kind of just like describe it without mentioning names so no one's like thrown under the bus or whatever. And, you know, it's life. Shit happens. Shit is crazy. And sometimes you end up a mistress. So, just make sure you're going on a date, you know, party of two. And if you're into the poly thing, make sure it's said before, so you don't show up and realize you're a mistress at a table for two, drinking a glass of Moscato, plotting someone's demise with a hostess and a waitress. Alright guys, that's it for today's story time. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know down below if you like story times and things like this. I definitely have more. Yeah, like and subscribe, and I'll keep you posted. Maybe you'll hear about a girl who maced herself, but that's a story for another time. Bye.